when we see so many families that are being pulled apart, when we see so many shootings that are taking place at schools, at churches, places that we used to think were safe. If we ever needed the Lord before, we sure do need him now.
You know, from my perspective, I believe that the disparities that exist are not by accident. They're by design. And I don't say that in a hyperbolic kind of a way, but, you know, first of all, our country, and again, I'm not trying to be over the top, but our country was built on exploitation. And we have to acknowledge that, you know, of course, perhaps the greatest exploitation occurred to our native brothers and sisters who, you know, were pretty much killed out completely and their country was taken from them. But black folks were brought here, people from Africa were brought here with the sole purpose to exploit them.
The cost of housing is going up. People who are getting the good jobs are displacing the people who don't have the good jobs and aren't making the money. The people who don't have the money are being moved out of the city. I mean, when I look at where we are right now in Charleston and what this used to be 20 years ago or 25 years ago when I would visit the Neighborhood Legal Assistance Program versus what the neighborhood looks like today, it's a very different world.
The vision of that strategy is for Charleston to be a unified region, a community working together to be globally competitive and to be a place where not only businesses flourish, but people flourish.
And so until we get to a point where all of us are able to listen to each other, engage with each other, work with each other. That means working with white people, working with black people, talking to black people, talking to white people, working with Republicans and talking to Democrats and working with Democrats. That's how we begin to change communities, to change families so they can see success and then have that economic mobility.
You work with your community partners to address a need, a desperate need, because I don't believe any child should be left behind because they don't have access to the device and they don't have access to the internet. And that's what we're working on.
Thank you.
We need to be frank about the fact that race matters. Dylan Roof didn't go into Emmanuel AME because of poverty. He went in there because of race.
Nobody goes into education for money. We all know that in college, that if we're going to go into education, that we're not going to make a whole lot of money. We go in because we love the students and we go in because we love education and we want to make the system better. But we need to live too. And so one way of valuing teachers is increasing their pay.
Too many of our students are in schools that are still considered racially identifiable. And so the question becomes, what do we do differently to teach them? Now, Charleston County, we've come up with wonderful strategies. We have magnet schools, we have partial magnets, we have district magnets, we have charter schools. But the challenge becomes when you are in the neighborhood school, because you don't have a choice, because you don't have transportation or economic opportunity from work to get your kids to school, is that a good choice? And so I think our conundrum is to figure out what we do to make sure that every choice is a good choice, regardless of the composition of the neighborhood.
And if you ask what the starting block is, it's assuring that every school in the 4 districts here, and certainly Charleston County, has a world-class principal as an instructional leader, leading highly qualified teachers, setting high expectations for kids. The funding flow for education should go south and into 0 to 5 and the early grades, because the ROI on that investment is much greater and the cost of educating much less in the upper grades. The best teachers, the best principals should go in the most challenging schools.
But what hits me is we are a block away from where the worst racial violence, crimes of racial hatred took place in our nation's conscience. And it's not the first time that there has been racial violence in that same place in our city. And we're living in what our local public college tells us is a state of great disparity for opportunity between whites and blacks. These are our times. Who are you going to be? Thank you.